Hey everybody, happy Freeform Friday stream. Yes, I am streaming from home, and that, not surprisingly, has yielded technical difficulties. Yay! So hi Lori and everyone else who's watching. I can't actually. Well, hi Rose. How are you doing? Yeah, I can't really see how many people are watching because of reasons involving my computer, but hey, it looks like there's about 6 of you out there. So, welcome to Freeform Friday. This means I get to do whatever I want on stream, and I decided that I was going to try and do it from home today. And yeah, my laptop really just has glitching. I'm so sorry. I blame my laptop. Is anybody glitching other than Rose? Because I know that my laptop's processing power is less than optimal. Yeah, oh, I see myself. I see myself glitching. Ugh, I don't know how to fix it. How do I fix it? Somebody tell me how to fix it. Yeah, nope, there I am with the swirl. I love that it says my stream quality is excellent and I'm spinning. Okay, well, hi, Keiko. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so my preview window is still spinning. I don't like that. Audio is fine, just occasionally. Okay, thank you, Keiko, for that. I don't like. Maybe I need a better laptop, frankly. And yeah, maybe I also need to do. What the what? My preview window is just spinning. It's super exciting. No, I feel like I need to do a cleanup and defrag on my laptop is actually what needs to happen. But anyway, so it's Freeform Friday. That means that it's not a really structured tutorial tonight, but I'm going to do something fun with y'all that my chat bot, I refreshed in my chat bot's just like, screw you. I could just show you anything. Yeah, and then will you minimize? No, and then my other chat window won't. It will go like minimize or maximize. It won't go like small. So yeah, this is probably why I should not try to stream from home. But anyway, what we're gonna do tonight. Okay, do I have sound? Do I have video? Can everybody hear me? Because what we're gonna do tonight. Hi, Silver. Is we're gonna make aglets. So 50% off one item on Saturday's sale for anyone who can tell me what is an aglet, spelled Aglet. I'm gonna wait a minute. And yes, Saturday night is a trunk show sale. So these are not discountable items, but anyone who can tell me what is an aglet gets half off one item on Saturday night. Just saying. Heather, you are not allowed to play. Okay, shoelace tip, says Lori. Which technically in our current vernacular is correct. So an aglet is a so all right, so Heather, can you please remember that Lori has a 50% off on any non-discountable item on Saturday's sale. So an aglet, what an aglet actually is a stiffened piece on the end of a lace that makes it easier to thread through a hole. So these days, shoelace tip is the closest modern antecedent to a period aglet. It's basically a shrink wrapped piece of plastic tubing that makes your shoelace possible or easy to thread through the eyelets or holes of your sneakers or whatever you're lacing through. In times past, before plastic was a thing, they made these things out of metal, and they were used primarily not just for shoes but also for corset lacings, for bodice lacings, for sleeve lacings, for tying things. And basically anytime you had to take a string and stick it through a hole, an aglet was your end piece on your string. So as many of you know, I went to a reenactment event a couple of weeks ago, had a fantastic time, took some great classes, and learned how to make my own aglets out of metal. Which I'm sorry, if this is not your flavor of nerdiness, I apologize. This may not be your stream, but this was something that I had so much fun learning, and I didn't even know it was this easy, and I should have, because this is my wheelhouse. This is my thing. This is what I do, and yet I did not ever think that it was this easy to make your own aglets. Also, interestingly enough, if you make tassels or need anything in your jewelry making that requires cones of any kind, this is a good way to manufacture your own cones as well. So what do I need to make my aglets? I need some 30 gauge sheet metal. All right, so this is 30 gauge brass. My 30 gauge brass in terms of inches is 0.010 inches. And did I throw away the thing? Haha. Okay, so 0.010 inches. Oh, they don't give a millimeter equivalent. Well, that's sucky. But so this is yeah, okay, so this is brass sheet metal, 30 gauge, 0.010 inches. This is a 6 by, oh wait, I have that frame flipped. Sorry, that's not going to be super helpful to y'all. Let's try this instead, shall we? Okay, so yeah, 0.010 inches. Come on, focus, please. And 30 gauge is the gauge of this. I did get this off of Amazon because Rio Grande doesn't actually carry brass this thin. So first thing I'm gonna do is, okay, so the instructor for the aglet class at the event was super sweet and very knowledgeable, but thank you, Heather. Did the thing that I will, and I'm not being critical because I have done this at big events where it's like, oh my god, I have to teach so many people. So I'm just gonna do this part and I'm not gonna really explain it, because it's easier for me as someone who knows how to do it to just do it and hand it out to the students and explain it. So what we've got here is I've got my sheet brass, and so the instructor handed out to us a series of pre-cut shapes from the 30 gauge sheet brass. So what I'm going to do now, as soon as my hand cam decides to work, there we go, is I'm going to try and replicate these shapes. So we're going to go with, hey look, I've got a piece of paper here. So I'm going to make a template. So I feel like they were somewhere in the neighborhood of like half an inch wide and about an inch long, and then they came to a nice point. So there's the center of that. Okay, so this is a really rough template, and they weren't triangles, they were kind of truncated triangles. So I'm gonna go a little bit on either side, and like this was approximately the shape that I was given with which to make my aglets. So I'm going to go ahead and start by just trimming that and making myself a template. And once again, once you get good at this, you probably don't need the template. But since I am a newbie at making aglets, I'm going to use my template. And so once again, this is 30 gauge sheet metal. So I'm just going to trace my template onto my sheet metal, and I'm going to try and make 6 aglets since I'm already pretty late on getting on my stream because my laptop really does not enjoy streaming, which I need to, you know, figure out if I'm going to stream at home. You know what? Let's do 4. Four's a more manageable number. And luckily this project doesn't require a whole lot of precision, so I can just kind of sketch in these shapes. Alright, and then I'm going to take my kitchen shears. You know why, y'all? Because my metal shears are in the car, and I was trying to get the computer to work, so I didn't have time to go back to the car to get my metal shears. The lucky thing is 30 gauge sheet metal is really like just double strength tin foil, so you can absolutely cut it with your kitchen shears, and that's what I'm gonna do. See, okay, seriously, if anybody wants to like dispute me, like seriously, J. Henkel's, they are kitchen shears. They came with my knife set. This only works with really thin sheet metal, okay? Once you get to like, you know, 26 gauge, you gotta use actual metal shears. But when you're cheating like I do with the 30 gauge, you can use your kitchen shears. Also, it's a good point of note that you need to make sure to get dead soft. No Corvus reenactment, Ace, and also hi. But yeah, dead soft sheet metal, not half hard. And if you have any problems with like manual dexterity or hand strength or anything like that, go for copper, not brass, because copper is just natively softer than brass. Okay, so I've got my 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces that I have cut are right here. So now, this is a really cool, it's, okay, so Silverin asked, is the sheet metal sharp? And the answer is, it is. Like, if you were to take your finger, press it against the sheet metal, and then draw it across, yes, you would probably cut yourself. If you wanted to mitigate that before you form this into an aglet, you could take some quadruple zero steel wool and just steel wool the edges. And on this 30 gauge sheet metal, that would absolutely take the sharpness away immediately. Since I'm going to be curling these into an aglet, which is basically a cone shape, the edges are not actually going to be really obvious, and so it doesn't really matter. Hi, Diane. We are making brass aglets for period clothing, and also the same technique will be applicable to if you want to actually make your own cones at any point as well. So this is a really cool tool that I received as part of my aglet making class. So this is basically just a piece of like 1/8 inch steel bar stock that was ground down to a nice point to make a mandrel for forming our aglets. It bears a striking resemblance to my sewing awl that I also ground down to a point to use as a knotting awl. So basically, here's the thing, folks. If you have a grinder, Dremel, flex shaft, if you have any kind of power grinding tool, and this was something that was very useful to me just a couple of days ago at Beading Dreams, because I had a screw that I had to unscrew, and I did not have a screwdriver that was small enough to unscrew it. So I took a screwdriver, an eyeglass screwdriver that I had, and I just narrowed it down and then thinned it out, and lo and behold, it worked like a charm. So don't forget, if you have the capability to grind metal, and this is where I wish Dogsy was with us, because that's sort of his thing, but like if you have anything in your life that will grind metal, don't forget that you can use these things. You can use these tools to make other tools. Okay? So literally, this was, I didn't make this. The instructor for the class made this, but this was literally a 1/8 inch piece of steel bar stock, and then they took a grinder or a Dremel or whatever tool they had, and they made it into a point. I did exactly the same thing with this sewing awl, which had a blunt tip, because that's what you want in a sewing awl, but I wanted it to be a knotting awl, so I ground it down to a point. So if you don't have power tools, you can do the same thing with a hand file, but it's going to take you a freaking million years. And then you probably, depending on what you're using it for, like for the mandrel that I'm using for the aglets, doesn't really matter if it's smooth or not because metal. But for my knotting awl, which I'm going to be using to pick apart silk threads and such, after I ground it, then I polished it flat with some sandpaper, and so that it wouldn't snag my thread. So how refined your piece needs to be really depends on what your intended use is. So if we're going to use it for aglets, this is how it goes. So I'm going to take the aglet mandrel because it is a really nice little tool. My instructor did a really good job of making this little tool. And I'm going to start with one of my little triangles. And what I want to do is I want to start by making this into a U shape. And for that, I'm actually going to use the butt end. Yes, I said butt for anybody who wants to be amused by that. But I'm going to use the non-sharp end of my mandrel. And I'm just going to place it in the center of my 30 gauge little triangle that I've cut. That is an Elton. Speaking of butts, what are you doing? Yes, this is the Elton kitty behind me. Hold on. Wait, no, you need to be on camera. Well, now they're just going to see your butt. And your butt's very cute, but the stream wants to see the you. Elton. Come here. Kitty, kitty, kitty. There's a tail. Yes, okay, that is Elton, executive producer Sir Elton. I don't know what he's doing right now, but he is a good kitty. Come here. Come here. Yes. This is the Elton kitty. Yes. He's like, what are you doing to me? He's a good boy. And so he's my new kitty. He's like, what the heck? He's not quite as experienced at being on the internet as Ziggy was, but there's a little bit of Elton butt on the internet, and yes. So anyway, I'm not going to start again because he's still lurking. Elton, what are you doing? Are you going to crash the stream? No, look over there. The people are over there. He's like, there's all these lights. What do I do? Okay, so Elton may do interesting things with the stream because he likes to walk on the keyboard, but let's go ahead and continue with this project. So I'm going to take my... Oh, you're gonna lay down? You gonna show? You can be supervisor. It's okay. You can supervise. You can lay over there. He's like, I have no idea what's going on. Okay, so now he's down off the table. So back to where I was before Elton made his appearance. He's a sweet boy and he's a handsome boy. Okay, so I'm gonna put my mandrel in the middle of my triangle. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to press down on the mandrel and up on the triangle to make a U shape. Oh, sorry. He's a lovely little void kitty. Well, he's a lovely, long, skinny void kitty is what he is. Oh my god. Okay. Apparently I can't do this under the camera because I suck. Inside the dresser. It's really funny because Elton, so he was hit by a car and injured very badly. Like I was reading his okay, so I'm working on turning this into kind of a U shape. Okay, so it's a little twisty right now, which is fine because now we're about to start using pliers on this. So Elton was yeah, he was hit by a car and injured very badly. I was reading his paperwork and it took almost $4,000 worth of surgery to get him walking again, which I mean, that is a lucky little kitty because I mean, honest to God, if I had hit Elton with my car, I would not have been able to afford to make him walk again. So bless the city of Richardson that they dumped almost $4,000 of medical treatment into this skinny little black kitty. When he was brought into the shelter, he was 7.5 pounds, and he's about 17 feet long. So he was like the longest, skinniest kitty ever. And I was lucky enough to go to the shelter when it was his first day up for adoption. And so I managed to get his skinny butt for $15. And but it's funny because all of the descriptions of him. Okay, so what I'm gonna do while I'm chit chatting is I'm gonna start taking these edges and I'm gonna start kind of bringing them up and over my mandrel. But it's funny because a lot of the things that were in his, I'm taking this away for a second, in his profile are not true because he was still recovering at that time from surgery. So his profile's like, you know, when I adopted him, his profile was like, he's not playful, he's very calm, he doesn't like toys, you know, he just wants to take a nap. And yeah, this is the cat that spends every day pulling all of the toys out of the toy box and bringing them to me in my bed. I woke up this morning with a mouse, a stuffed pumpkin, and another mouse, and a little plastic ring from a milk jug. So yeah, so he pulls the toys out, he plays with them, he brings them into the bed, like, so he definitely is a toy loving cat. He does like naps, but he also loves playing, and he's super sociable. He's extremely vocal, you know, which is just an interesting kind of commentary on how cats and any adopted animal, you know, it takes some time to open up. Okay, so what I'm seeing here as I'm kind of bending this around is that I feel like I've got a little too much metal here. So I think on my other ones, I'm going to narrow this down a bit. I'm going to see how it does on here. And here is a trick, is you can always overlap these if you want to. But if you overlap them too much, they're not going to be... Oh, yay! Thank you, Heather. Elton will be very happy. If you overlap them too much, then you get a weird edge. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of squishing this down around my form. And I promise when I'm done with this, I'll show you what an aglet actually like does and how to attach it to a lace. This one is way too wide. Oof. Yeah, that's way, that right there, that's way more overlap than I want. So, you know, second time's the charm, or possibly the third time. Okay, so this one was not great. And like I said, the X factor here is the fact that when I was in the class, we didn't cut our own pieces. They were given to us. So this one is, it's not unusable, but I'm really not happy with it. For starters, the seam should be straight, like so, and it's not. It goes on a diagonal. It's not round. It's kind of ovoid, and look at that overlap. Like, look at that overlap there. Not happy. So, we're going to try this again. But what we're going to do is we're going to take our next shape, and we're going to just narrow it a bit. So, I don't think that this end needs to be more narrow. I just think it's this end. So, I'm just going to narrow down that end a bit. And we're going to see if that makes a better aglet. So now I have my slightly more narrow triangle, and I'm going to go ahead and just bend it. And the thing that helped me a second ago was to actually press it down on the table and kind of roll it over. Because it's just not, I mean, in theory, you're like, oh, I should just be able to use my fingers and push it up. It's not quite wide enough for that. So, all right, so there's my beginning of my U shape. Now I'm going to switch to the end of my mandrel, and I'm going to continue that. That was just there was a drive-by Eltoning. And when you get to the point where you can't do it with your fingers anymore, that's where your pliers come into play. And unfortunately, my camera's a little low, so it's easier for me to use my pliers off camera, but I'm going to do as much of this on camera as I can just to show you. Okay, so that's the beginning of my really, really good U shape. And we're just going to continue that. And this is where that kind of spiraled seam that I did a minute ago, you want to make sure you make this in the middle, okay? Don't let it do this, which I'm pretty sure is what happened to me last time. So, let's see. So the other thing I learned when I was doing aglets was finger loop braiding, which is also super fun and extremely time consuming. Like, no, nobody in this day and age wants to make their own lacing, and yet it's so fun. So that may be another Freeform Friday, and I realize I still owe you all that Evil Eye tutorial. I just don't like to do torch tutorials at home because of the possibility of feline flambe, because I like my felines non-flambéed. So I know I still owe that to y'all for a future Freeform Friday. Okay, so I've got my, I reversed this camera so that it would have a better angle, and it's just confusing to me, so I'm going to need to switch it back. But, so what I have is my entire piece of metal kind of U-shaped around my mandrel. Now, this is a much better size because I can tell when I bend this over the mandrel, it's going to meet rather than overlap. So now we're just going to start kind of bending this over the mandrel. So while I'm doing this, which is a little bit time consuming, I'm just going to talk about tomorrow night. Feline tart. No, I don't know. Feline tartar still involves consumption. Like, I like feline, free range feline. That's my, within the confines of the house. Though now I want tuna tartare. Thanks, Heather. You suck. So I'm just going to bend this around my mandrel to make my aglet. So tomorrow night on the Beading Dream stream, we do have a tutorial for you, and then we will be doing a live merchandise sale. It will be trunk show merchandise, so not discountable merchandise, because the following week, the week of Thanksgiving, we will be doing 50% off sales on Friday night and Saturday night. Okay, so that's half of my aglet that is bent over, and I'm going to do the other half. So if there's anything that you've been coveting that you want at 50% off, tune in Friday, tune in Saturday for 50% off live merchandise sales. I guarantee you. And we will have some 70% merchandise as well. So, well, I know, but I can't have tuna tartare at home either unless I order it. Like, I don't have there are not just tunas in my bathtub, Heather, that are ready to be made into sushis. They're just not. So if I want tuna tartare, I'm going to have to order it, which isn't technically in the budget, but I really want it. Okay, so once I've got that formed, that is my aglet. Now, it's a little bit open, so what I can do if I want to is I can just take my pliers and I can close it a little bit so that the edges meet. If they overlap a little bit, it's not a big deal, but that big old overlap from my first one, that's not cool. This is something that happens at the ends, is they tend to be kind of straight and not cone shaped. So I'm just gonna press them down. All right, so, all right, there we go. Okay, so there we go. That is one aglet, which I think is probably all I'm going to be able to make on tonight's stream since it took me so long to go on. So what I'm going to do, instead of making more aglets tonight, is I'm going to show you how to utilize this particular aglet on a piece of cording. You know what that means? It means I need to find a piece of cording. Do I have cording within arm's reach? Why don't I have cording within arm's reach? It's my office. I mean, I've got iPhone cords, but I'm reluctant to snip one of them. So I am actually gonna need to get up. Oh my goodness. Wow. My legs are so old. What the heck? Sorry, now I'm up and I'm looking for the perfect cord. And Heather will tell you, this is where things go bad. Because don't look for the perfect cord when you're teaching a tutorial. Just look for the closest cord. But unfortunately, yeah, like I said, I got up. Okay, we are going to go for the closest cord. Okay, we're going to not be a Looney Tune. Or any more than I normally am. Except for the fact that I took all the scissors out of my tools drawer. Okay, so I just have a piece of polycord here. So if you're doing lacing for period garments, you're probably going to be using a slightly thicker cord than this. But again, the cool thing about making your own aglets is you can customize them to the size of cord that you're using. And as a person who doesn't necessarily enjoy period sewing anymore, but who has done period sewing in the past, one of the things that is incredibly frustrating is the fact that commercially available aglets are really big. So this is a nice skinny aglet for a nice skinny cord. So you can use this one of two ways. If you have a drill available, you could drill a hole here and a hole here, and then insert your cord into your aglet and sew it on. Okay, so you could sew your aglet onto your cord, and if you were paranoid like myself, you could throw some CA glue in there just to make sure everything stays together. If you don't want to sew, you can crimp. all us bead people are like, hell yes with the crimping. So to crimp on, you're just going to take your chain nose pliers and you're going to flatten one end and then flatten the other end. So this is just like when you're doing a cord end, like a leather cord end. So you're going to put one end down, then the other end down, and then you're going to squish. You're going to maintain the integrity of most of the aglet, but this crimp is going to be what holds it on, and that's going to be pretty freaking secure. So that ladies, gentlemen, and whoever the heck is still watching me on the internet, that's how you make a period correct aglet out of 30 gauge brass. And then if you wanted to, after you've crimped it on, you could totally kind of squeeze this down a little bit and squeeze this one over it to get a more kind of tailored fit. But either way, this particular aglet will string very easily through a 1/8 inch eyelet, which is what, you know, most eyelets are. So it's really a super simple and easy way to make stringy bits for stringing through laces. Once again, the same technique applies if you're making cones. You just use a different shaped piece of metal. So if I was making a cone that was, say, going to be the top of a tassel, I would probably make it shorter and possibly wider, and then I would use a different shaped mandrel to roll it up. Not necessarily, you know, I mean, my knotting awl is basically the same as what I use, but there are mandrels out there that are pointy but that are wider. So you just need to look at your mandrel options and be like, okay, well, what am I trying to make? What shape am I trying to make? Do I need column A, column B, column C? Like, what width do I need to make? And then you can always make a paper template to fit your mandrel to then, help you figure out how you need to cut your metal. Okay, so that is it. That is the entirety of the Freeform Friday. I taught you how to make an aglet. I was hoping to make 4, but I succeeded in 1, considering the fact that it took me 35 minutes to get online. I'm actually totally okay with that. So before you all leave me, I want to remind you that tomorrow night we do have a tutorial stream. I can't remember what it is, but I'm sure it's something cool. Followed by a live merchandise sale of the last of our trunk show merchandise. Then next week, Thanksgiving week, we are dark. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, okay? No streams on any of those days. Friday, however, we will be doing a live sale stream starting at 6 p.m. And, all right, Heather votes for a make your own cone tutorial, so I will either put that in the month of December or I will do it on a Freeform Friday. But for now, you can find us back on this channel, twitch.tv/Beading Dream, tomorrow at 6 p.m. with a tutorial, 7:30 p.m. with a sale, and then next week, Friday at 6 p.m., Saturday at 6 p.m. with 50 to 70% off bead merchandise in a live sale. So that's going to be it for me tonight. Sorry it was a little bit short, but it's the end of my week, and tomorrow's going to be a long day. So, hoping to keep that for after the tutorial, but I will see y'all back on this channel, twitch.tv/Beading Dream, tomorrow at 6 p.m. for a tutorial, 7:30 for a sale. Thank you all so much for hanging out and being patient with us tonight. And I'm gonna get some rest so that I cannot be a Looney Tune tomorrow. So thank you everyone so much. Now you know how to make an aglet. You never know when this skill is gonna come in handy. If you need to lace something during the zombie apocalypse, I have shown you the skills. So, everyone have a great night, and I'll see you back on this channel, twitch.tv/Beading Dream. Tomorrow at 6. Bye, y'all.